And naturally, I'm a Tottenham man, obviously. I can reflect back to being a player with and manager of some of the finest players that have ever been in the game.
The place is fantastic, the tradition of this club.
To be the manager of 3 cup-winning teams here, I'm so lucky, it's untrue.
Hotspur America podcast, airing every week during the English Premier League season.
What a glory, glory night at White Hart Lane. This great and historic football club.
Joyful night down the Tottenham High Road.
Hotspur America, the original US-based podcast dedicated solely to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Gascoigne going to have a crack. He is, you know. Oh, I say! Schoolboy's own stuff.
I hate Arsenal, just hate them.
Oh, what a goal! Unbelievable! Wow, this is incredible.
We're the Yids in America.
This is on the tap in.
What a fantastic run! He scored! And it's turned home, Eric Dyer.
This is your Hotspur America. Season 4, Episode 24, the Winter, Window, and Mid-Season Report Card from the Hotspur America podcast. As always, Community Beer Company sponsoring our podcast, the perfect pub pint to share with your mates. Find us on social media, Hotspur America Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spreaker, and of course, iTunes. You can find us on all those social media platforms. Interesting show we have today. We're going to talk about the winter window coming up, possibilities, dream signings, and realistic predictions as we get into this conversation. And I am so pleased that I get to have this conversation with the one and only Sam Zorwell. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Merry New Year to all. I am here for your podcasting pleasure. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's great.
Let's do this.
To have you back.
Come on.
Vass also joining us from across the pond, mid-afternoon, over there in the UK. Vass, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, thanks, Ken. Glad to be back. Hope you've finished sucking on the Belgian. Ready to go.
Man, I heard that last week, and I almost ran off the road.
Oh.
By the way, Vass.
Sorry to bring that up at the top of the show, Kenny, but...
You partying tonight? You partying tonight for New Year's, Vass?
Yeah, we're partying later.
Party
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Like it's already started.
No, I'm on the water at the moment. I'm hydrating myself.
What is New Year's Vass like? You kind of like the, let's go streaking Vass, or you kind of...
No, nothing like that, Sam. I'm a sensible sort.
Also joining us, Tim, who's in Dallas, and we are going through a bit of a cold snap, as is most of the most of the states. I looked out outside just a few minutes ago. A little bit of flurries and snow and ice and all that fun stuff. So we are wrapped up inside. Tim, how you doing?
I am doing great. Ready to get this underway.
Yeah, we do have a lot to talk about. We're going to start off simple. Mid-season report card. A couple of bullet points I just want to touch on. First of all, Pochettino and the staff and how they're doing, and then the overall standings in play. So, Vass, when you look at what's transpired here the first half of the season, plus one game, your thoughts on Pochettino, the coaching staff, and how they've handled some of the trials and tribulations of this season so far?
Well, I think the first thing that the team and the coaching staff have had to manage is the full transition into Wembley. I've always maintained that it shouldn't be an excuse for us, but looking at that from the point of view of the size of the pitch, etc. But it certainly had an impact, more so for the visiting teams. Some have set up differently. Even the away support has come for a day out that they possibly wouldn't otherwise have done. So Pochettino and his staff have had different challenges this year. Injuries haven't helped, and I know that Chairs in the last pod said that we're a few points off of where we were last season, and that's understandable. But, we've had a great Champions League campaign, which has gone far better than we probably hoped for. And the league campaign has suffered a little bit with, the injuries and everything else. But overall, it's, steadying the ship, and hopefully this is the time of the year when we pick up again and push on, hopefully.
Sam, what about you? Vass brings up a good point. It is a day out for some of these teams and their fans that don't generally get to go to Wembley. That combined with the fact that, we've talked until we were blue in the face about the lack of atmosphere at Wembley versus what we had at White Hart Lane. What about you, Pochettino, the staff, how they've handled this transition?
Yeah, I mean, those things really can't be denied. I mean, we had such a fortress last year at White Hart Lane, and watching the lane, which by the way, that was just amazing. It really amplified to me how difficult of a transition it really is. But the reality is it doesn't matter. We're in a league where it's about results, and although it is a giant ask, we have to get the job done, and it is difficult. It's a bit of a soulless place. The whole match day experience for just about everybody is miserable. But be that as it may, it's all about results, and you can't sit and moan in a game of results about, well, we weren't in our stadium. So it's a huge ask, and it's a difficult task to say the least. But I think we're muddling through it, and we always get caught up. I mean, I remember last year we always get caught up in things like I remember the big moan this time last year was Eriksson. Eriksson was so poor. Yeah. It's 2 halves to a season. It's a long season, and all things considered, I'm gonna take a page out of Vasconi's Happy Clapping book. It's a long season, and it's not discouraging. You look at what's going on around us. You look at the Man United yesterday. Mm-hmm. I mean, abject football. Arsenal's not looking wonderful. Everything's very close. So I think we may be all right. We'll see. It's a race for fourth for us, obviously.
I took a lot of that away, too. I watched the United match yesterday as we record, and the first thing I thought of was the recent form they've been in with the draws and drop points and being knocked out of competitions reminded me of the Swansea, West Brom, Burnley run that we had kind of early in the season where we were drawing teams that we had no business drawing. And United are doing the exact same thing. It lends itself to say, yes, we have a chance and to not only do what we want to do in terms of the league and as far as results go, but also keep that top four at the end of the season. Robbie Earl, some of the NBC pundits were saying United are going to be very hard pressed to make that top four because they have no real dynamic talent. They don't have the Sanchez.
They got a foundation. There's no unifying fabric, and so
right.
With this cluster of teams, I think Chelsea's a shoe in, and I think City are that's 1 and 2.
Yes.
So it's this race for 3 and 4, and I just like to think that the team that has sort of the most principled approach, the most sort of foundation-like approach, I don't know. I think the whole Sanchez-Ozil thing at Arsenal, I think will probably crumble. I just don't see that lasting. Liverpool's got something good going, and I think we've got something good going.
Hey, I'm gonna jump in here because I got an opinion.
Do it.
And I want to bring it back to this Wembley discussion because I think we're going about it all the wrong way. We have not been bad at Wembley. We started off rough, but we have not lost a match there since October in the League Cup against West Ham. The last 4 matches at Wembley, we've outscored our opponents 15-3.
Who'd we play?
Well, I mean, it's Applewell, Stoke, Brighton, and Southampton, but still.
Tim's got a point. I mean, we put 4 past Liverpool, we put 3 past Real Madrid, we put 3 past Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah.
Now,
Thanks,
we started off. No worries, mate.
Suck it, Sam.
But I think what it did do is it took us a little while to get going. And some of the early games we were muddling through. We seem to be finding our feet now, which is a good sign, and hopefully that we can propel ourselves forward a little bit now, especially with injured players coming back.
Yeah, and key players being out. I mean, how can you deny the impact of Toby? How can you deny the impact of a guy like Wanyama when Dyer's playing in a role that he's probably not best suited for? I mean, these things add up, but it all just comes back to got to find a way to get it done. And as I said, I don't dispute that's not easy, but so
it's just taken us a little while to find that way. I think.
I think you may be. You may be right, and we've got players coming back. God forbid, Kane gets injured, but. I think it's even money. I think for Arsenal, Liverpool, or us for that 3rd and 4th spot.
Yeah, we'll talk about transfers here in a minute, and obviously with the Van Dijk signing, $75 million, unreal for a defender. Does that help put Liverpool over the top a little bit, or maybe are they still a season away? We'll get into all that overall standing in play. Tim, I want to start with you on this because this is more your forte. Positionally, in the way, we've talked about last week, missing Alderweireld and Wanyama and how impactful they were last year to this club and some of the struggles. Winks played great early on. He struggled here of late and wasn't even selected. Yes, he has a little bit of a knock last week. And now with Kane having a little bit of an illness, we've done well, I think, with what we've had to work with. Do you feel the same?
I mean, I think overall play, there's been some of our players who have not been playing up to their potential. Dele is the one that we can point to, but I think lately these last two matches, he has shown improvement. But, overall in the standings and the table, we're not where we want to be. I mean, granted, we're 8 points out of second with a game in hand, but, we'd like to feel a little more secure in the top four, and it's just going to be a tough race this season. I think if, Dele had been playing like he has these past two games throughout the season, that might be a little different. But, you've had players like Davinson Sanchez come in and slot in well. So even with the injury to Toby, I think he's been able to do well and fill in there.
Yeah, and even the couple of appearances that Foyth had, he played rather well.
I don't know about that. I haven't seen Foyth. He's appeared against like Applewell and a League Cup, so I don't know what Foyth has done. I mean, no Premier League appearances.
True.
But I think the biggest thing has been Sonny's form. I mean, he's been great, and just look at his last 6 Premier League starts: 5 goals and 3 assists. I like seeing that he's getting in the game more. I think he's making a spot for himself on the squad, and at this point, I've always been really critical on Sonny, but I'm at the point where I'm saying he's undroppable. I think he needs to start every game with the form that he's been on.
No, I tend to agree with you. And a lot of the conversation that we were having as LaMelo was starting to get better or a little bit closer to health was that at least now we'll have somebody to maybe push Sonny a little bit and maybe sit him when we need to. And now it's actually Dele who is being subbed in for and actually sat as Lamela integrates back into this squad. Is there any concern whatsoever in terms of what's going on in his head, Sam? Dele Alli, whether it be emotional, I don't think he wants to move away. Is he enjoying his football, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really think that a player like that really has a lot to complain about. He's on the world stage. He's playing against the Madrids of the world. He's going to feature in the World Cup. He's in a team that's competing in a league where one team is running away with it. You can say what you want about our wage structure, but I think there is a sort of pay for performance mentality. If what I read is correct, he's going to be paid. Now, would he be paid Galactico money at another club? No, but I don't know. I mean, should he really be that demanding of that right now? So to answer your question, do I think he's enjoying his football? I think he's learning how to be a professional on the big stage, and that's not a straight line, and it's not an easy process. And thankfully, we've got a good steward, a good father figure to hopefully guide him through it.
No,
I don't know. I don't know who would have been enjoying their football through November the way we went through that month. Yeah,
so listen to this. I'm glad you brought that up. And it really kind of started right when we lost to West Ham. 3-2 then. Then we lose to United away, which we probably shouldn't have. Now we have bright spark with Madrid, and we beat Palace, and then boom, lose to Arsenal. Draw at West Brom.
Toby's gone.
Lose against Leicester, draw against, and it just kind of goes to show you the fine margins of this league. We get I'm just as guilty, if not more than anybody else of this, of getting, manic in a 2 or 3 week period of time where shit's just not going well. It's hard to see the forest for the trees, so to speak.
And now we're winning and you're back.
Well, the whole thing about I only pop when I'm winning wasn't entirely true, but the month of October, November was pretty shit. I didn't really have my moments.
And I'm not sucking any Belgians to continue our 5-2.
Yeah, and, people were sort of asking me, why are you plotting? And it wasn't like I wasn't Spurs sick. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Spurs wasn't leaving me enthusiastic about life in general, but it was just kind of shit. Was just kind of hectic and getting in the way, and schedules were just really, really bad. And so it's like, oh, you pod when you're winning, and but we won a few there, and I still didn't pod out of principle.
No, on principle. What about you, Vass? Mid-season report card from a player's perspective. What do you think?
just to follow on the Dele Alli thing, I think I wouldn't say I've been critical, but I certainly